So now it's like, oh, shit. I slide my. Now I'm looking around to see if anybody saw me speak to this motherfucker.
New footage of Method Man talking about Biggie's death just dropped, and it's got everyone talking. The clip makes it look like he was playing both sides during the East Coast-West Coast feud. Was Meth deeper in this than he ever admitted? Did he even play a role in Biggie's murder? The clip seems to hold the answers. Let's get into it. Method Man's dangerous game in the streets. The East Coast-West Coast beef of the 90s created a straight-up war zone that would eventually claim the lives of two of hip-hop's brightest stars. In this volatile-ass landscape, Method Man found himself in an almost impossible position, keeping it real with both sides while the hip-hop world was burning down around him. His ability to navigate these treacherous waters without becoming a casualty himself reveals either incredible street smarts or inside knowledge of all the players that he's never fully put on the table. Method Man maintained relationships with both Biggie and Tupac Shakur, collaborating with Tupac on tracks like Got My Mind Made Up during the height of the East Coast-West Coast feud. This wasn't just some professional courtesy type shit. It was a dangerous balancing act that few artists of that era even attempted, and even fewer survived without getting touched. The fact that Method Man could work with both camps during the most heated period of the beef suggests he had information or street connections that protected him from the usual consequences of that kind of divided loyalty. His philosophy during this whole period was telling as hell. He consciously stayed out of the conflict, stating, "There's more fake than real in the game, but by the time gets to the real somebody dies." The question is, how did he know what was coming? And what did he do with that knowledge when things got real?
No, I never got any flack. Nobody said to me about nothing. Let me tell you something about Wu-Tang and shit. Okay. For one, all right, you know it's 9, 10 members. 10 members, okay.
All of y'all.
But they don't know that 10 members got family members.
The protection Method Man enjoyed wasn't just because Wu-Tang had mad numbers, though that definitely played a part in keeping him safe. This neutrality likely preserved his relationship with Biggie, as he faced no backlash for working with Tupac. But staying neutral in a war zone isn't just about keeping your mouth shut. It's about having enough valuable information or street connections to make both sides want to keep you alive and talking. But perhaps the most revealing moment in Method Man's whole story comes from his account of the Soul Train Awards weekend in 1997, the same weekend that would end with Biggie getting murdered. His memory of this period reads like some street thriller novel, filled with chance encounters, mounting tension, and an almost supernatural awareness of the danger surrounding everyone.
I fly out to Cali that day for Soul Train, like everybody did.
Okay. Oh, man.
Soul Train Awards happening. I get on the plane, I'm in first class, Shook gets on. He leaving from New York.
That's wild.
And I'm like, well, wow, that's interesting, you know?
The coincidence of Method Man and Suge Knight being on the same flight from New York to Los Angeles on that crucial weekend is straight up crazy. In a city the size of New York, with multiple airports and countless flights to Los Angeles, what are the odds that these two figures would end up in first class together? This wasn't just chance. It suggests that there were orchestrated movements happening that weekend, with various players converging on Los Angeles for reasons that went way beyond the Soul Train Awards.
He ain't say to me either. He said to me anyway. No, he did when he got off the plane though. He did the head nod, that Suge shit, like, and walked off the plane. You know what I mean? I ain't even say shit back though.
This exchange, or lack thereof, between Method Man and Suge Knight is loaded with street politics and unspoken meaning. The fact that Suge acknowledged Method Man with a nod suggests recognition and perhaps even respect. But Method Man's decision not to respond reveals his awareness of the dangerous position he was in. He understood that even acknowledging Suge Knight could be seen as choosing sides in a conflict that was spiraling toward real violence. The weekend itself was a masterclass in tension and paranoia, with Method Man finding himself in the middle of a powder keg without even fully realizing how deep things were getting.
Now I'm on mushrooms like a month. Yeah. That's what they was doing out there. So
No, they
like
doing
on the
that
plane, hit me with the shroom. Bah, 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 bah. I'm in here like this. And I mean, it didn't hit me, like, cause you know, we got a force field of this Wu-Tang. We got a force field around us, but I'm by myself. It didn't hit me while I'm in the club, in the House of Blues, till I saw Puff.
Right.
And this ain't a slight against Puff, but it was like, I see Puffy.
Right.
And I see Puffy with like 6 bodyguards. Then it hit me. It was like, wait a minute.
The shroom you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The whole everything.
The whole everything.
The situation, everything.
This moment of realization is crucial to understanding Method Man's perspective on the events of that weekend. Seeing Puffy with an unusually large security detail made the danger real for him in a way that abstract knowledge couldn't. It was the visual confirmation that some serious shit was about to go down, that the threats and tensions weren't just street posturing anymore. But perhaps the most intriguing part of Method Man's story from that weekend is his encounter with Tupac himself.
Turn around, Tupac.
In the same club Puff was at?
Yeah. The whole night. I had no idea though. Boom, boom, boom. Turn around his pocket. Now, he's telling me about some incident that happened with RZA in Vegas, and if he was there, it definitely wouldn't have happened.
Hold up, this doesn't make sense chronologically, yo. Tupac was murdered in September 1996, but the Soul Train Awards Method Man is describing took place in March 1997. This is either a mistake in Method Man's memory, a confusion of different events, or something more significant that doesn't add up. Could Method Man be mixing up different encounters, or is there something about this story that's not adding up the way it should?
Basically, he was saying, if there's anybody we were on the East Coast, it'd be Wu-Tang.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
This is letting us know, and anybody that was in the know that it wasn't an East Coast, West Coast thing. It was Bad Boy.
This statement from Tupac, regardless of when it actually took place, reveals the complex alliances that existed beneath the surface of the supposed East Coast, West Coast beef. Tupac's declaration that Wu-Tang would be his East Coast allies suggests that the conflict was more nuanced than the media portrayed, with specific targets rather than wholesale coastal warfare. However, tensions existed between Biggie and some Wu-Tang Clan members. Ghostface Killah accused Biggie of copying Nas's Illmatic album cover for Ready to Die on a skit from Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links, prompting Biggie to confront Nas about his ties to Wu-Tang.
Even when Ghost and Ray, or rather Ray, for instance, said something about the album me and all that stuff, me and Big had already had a rapport. Right. You know what I mean? Right. And the way they felt wasn't the way I felt at all. Plus, it didn't have any merit to it because we've never discussed that as a clan.
Method Man's insistence that the Wu-Tang Clan never discussed their issues with Biggie as a group suggests that he was operating independently, maintaining his relationship with Biggie despite his crew members' objections. This independence could have made him a valuable source of information for various parties interested in Wu-Tang's internal dynamics and street politics. Method Man, however, was not implicated in this dispute, and his collaboration with Biggie remained unaffected. But this neutrality came with a cost. In a world where loyalty was everything, Method Man's ability to remain cool with everyone made him either incredibly valuable as a go-between or incredibly suspect as someone playing multiple sides of the game. When two legends crossed paths, Method Man and Biggie first crossed paths in Atlantic City, where Method Man was introduced to Biggie's music through a mutual connection, Dan Smalls, who worked for Uptown Records. This wasn't just some random industry meetup. This was destiny calling, the type of moment that sets off a chain reaction that's still echoing through the culture today. The way these two linked up reads like some real street fairy tale type shit. Smalls gave Method Man a CD featuring Biggie's Party and Bullshit from the Who's the Man soundtrack, which impressed Method Man, who described Biggie's skills as insane. But that was just the beginning of this wild ride. Later, a friend, Raider Ruckus, urged Method Man to collaborate with Biggie after sharing a tape of Me and My Bitch, further solidifying Method Man's admiration for Biggie's storytelling. Now peep this. What makes this connection so damn fascinating is the timing of it all. Method Man was already riding high as part of Wu-Tang Clan, straight up the most innovative and raw group hip-hop had ever witnessed. Wu-Tang had burst onto the scene with that grimy, uncut sound that was unlike anything the game had seen before. These cats were the underground kings, the street prophets who spoke in martial arts codes and delivered bars with the precision of ninja swords. Biggie, on the flip side, was the rising prince of Bad Boy Records, representing that more polished, radio-ready version of East Coast rap that could move units and get spins. Their first in-person meeting occurred at the Muse, a venue in Brooklyn where Biggie, wearing the iconic shirt from his Juicy video, approached Method Man to propose a collaboration. Picture this scene. Yo, two titans of the New York rap game, each repping different sides of the city's musical identity, coming together in a Brooklyn spot that would become legendary in hip-hop folklore. The visual alone is crazy. Biggie in his signature fly gear, already becoming the fashion icon we remember today, and Method Man with that distinctive swag that had already made him stand out from the Wu collective. But check it, here's where the story gets real interesting. Without cell phones to exchange contact information, Tracy Wapples, a Def Jam executive, facilitated their studio session. This detail might seem basic, but it's actually mad significant. In an era before social media, before instant communication was the norm, these connections were precious as hell and often happened by pure chance. The fact that a Def Jam executive had to set up their link-up speaks to how important both camps knew this collaboration was going to be.
First time I met him was outside the Muse. We all performed there that night. We performed, Big performed, Yo-Yo performed that night as well.
The collaboration that came out of this meeting would go down in hip-hop history as some of the illest shit ever recorded. The result was The What, produced by Easy Mo B, the only guest rap feature on Ready to Die. Think about how deep that statement really is for a hot minute. Biggie's debut album, widely considered one of the greatest rap albums to ever bless the streets, featured only one guest rapper. Out of all the talented spitters in New York, out of all the potential collaborators he could have blessed with a feature, Biggie picked Method Man. This wasn't just some business move. This was a statement to the whole damn culture. The track showcased their lyrical chemistry, with both rappers delivering verses that complemented each other's style. This level of collaboration goes way beyond typical guest appearances. Real talk. Biggie wasn't just sharing booth time with Method Man, he was actively contributing bars to Method Man's verses, essentially co-writing parts of the track. This suggests a level of trust and creative chemistry that was rare as hell in the competitive world of 90s hip-hop. It also shows that Biggie saw something special in Method Man, something that was worth this level of investment in creative partnership.
Nah, I walked in and Big was snapping on Puff first, and I'm just laughing. Shit was hilarious because Puff was like, "You gotta say my name." He's like, "Said your name like 15 times on this album." Puff know I'm telling the truth too. You know I'm telling the truth, Puff. But then we sat there and wrote our verses. We both sat there and wrote them.
Method Man described the studio environment as relaxed and collaborative, with Easy Mo Bee, Sean Diddy Combs, and others present. This detail is crucial because it places Method Man directly in the inner circle of Bad Boy Records during one of its most important periods. He wasn't just some outside guest, he was family, witnessing the creative process that would shape one of hip-hop's most influential albums. But the relationship stretched way beyond just studio time and recording sessions. Beyond the studio, their friendship extended to personal interactions. Method Man shared a memory of Biggie at an airport in North Carolina, where Biggie humorously dealt with a metal detector repeatedly going off due to a bullet lodged in his body. Method Man noted, "After a while, you forget he was fat or had those googly eyes. You just see a funny." Their bond was further evidenced by their planned but unrealized collaboration with Nas on a track called The Ugliest for Busta Rhymes' 1996 album The Coming. What's particularly wild about this planned collaboration is the timing of it all. By 1996, the East Coast-West Coast beef was reaching its peak, and tensions were running high throughout the hip-hop community. The fact that Biggie's subliminal shots at Tupac caused the track to get shelved reveals how the escalating conflict was beginning to affect even side relationships and collaborations that had nothing to do with the main beef. But Method Man's connection to this whole story goes way deeper than just his friendship with Biggie. His unique position in the hip-hop landscape of the 90s placed him right in the center of several intersecting narratives that would ultimately lead to tragedy. What Method Man knew when bodies started dropping. In the aftermath of Biggie getting bodied on March 9th, 1997, the hip-hop world was left shook, searching for answers that have remained ghost for over 2 decades. While investigators, journalists, and conspiracy theorists have chased various leads and theories, one perspective has remained largely unexplored, that of Method Man, the Wu-Tang Clan member, who found himself uniquely positioned at the intersection of all the major players in this tragedy. His silence on certain aspects of the case, combined with his intimate knowledge of all the personalities and street dynamics involved, raises serious questions about what he knows and why he's chosen to keep that shit to himself. The timing of Method Man's last interactions with the key players in this whole drama is particularly significant. Real talk. Method Man has not publicly commented on Biggie's death beyond expressing admiration for him and sharing positive memories, such as their studio sessions and personal anecdotes. This restraint is notable when compared to other artists who knew Biggie, many of whom have given extensive interviews about their relationships and theories about his murder. But Method Man's silence becomes even more intriguing when we consider the broader context of what was happening in the hip-hop world during the months leading up to Biggie's murder. The notorious Big was killed in a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles on March 9th, 1997 at age 24, 6 months after Tupac Shakur's murder in Las Vegas. The fact that Method Man had maintained relationships with both artists, had been present in Los Angeles during the crucial weekend, and had witnessed the escalating tensions firsthand makes his perspective potentially invaluable to understanding what really went down. The prevailing theories about Biggie's murder have focused on various suspects and motives, but none have seriously considered Method Man as a potential witness with crucial street knowledge. Former LAPD detective Greg Kading alleged that Suge Knight, head of Death Row Records, hired Mob Peru gang member Wardell Poochie Faust to kill Biggie in retaliation for Tupac's death. This theory has gained significant traction over the years, with multiple street sources confirming Poochie as the likely shooter.
Now, with Biggie's murder, it was always very gray area for me. There was too many different theories and no one's ever really come forward and put themselves into it. But over the past year or so, talking to multiple people, I keep hearing the same name come up.
Is that Poochie?
Poochie.
Right.
Greg Kading said it's Poochie. Mob James said it's Poochie. Whack 100 said it's Poochie. When I interviewed Vanilla Ice, he also said it was Poochie. Not to say that any of them are actually correct, but you keep hearing the same name.
The consistency of this theory across multiple street sources suggests that it has serious credibility within certain circles of the hip-hop community. But what's missing from these accounts is the perspective of someone who was actually there in the thick of it, someone who witnessed the tensions and street dynamics firsthand. Method Man's unique position during this period means he likely had insights into the motivations and capabilities of the various players that could either support or contradict these theories. Lance Unraveling, a cat who was deeply connected to the events of that era, has made bold claims about his knowledge of Biggie's murder.
Do you feel like you know who killed Biggie?
Yeah.
Can you say it?
No, I'm going to tell it on the series.
Okay, but you feel confident you know who did it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I did my research.
Rivera's confidence in his knowledge, combined with his promise to reveal it publicly, raises the question of whether other figures from that era possess similar information but have chosen to remain silent. Method Man's reluctance to discuss the details of that period could be strategic, protecting himself and others from the consequences of revealing dangerous truths that could get people hurt.
And stop blaming Suge, because nowhere in Suge's story has always been beat them up, them up, drag them, beat their ass. There's no, in this story, there's no kill him, shoot him.
This perspective challenges the prevailing narrative that Suge Knight was directly responsible for Biggie's murder. If Rivera is speaking facts, then the theories pointing to Suge as the mastermind may be completely off base, and the real truth may lie somewhere else entirely. Method Man's interactions with Suge Knight during that crucial weekend, the flight to Los Angeles, the subtle acknowledgement between them, take on new significance in this light. But perhaps the most revealing aspect of Method Man's story is what he hasn't said, what he's kept locked away. In all his interviews about that period, he's been careful to focus on positive memories and general observations, rather than specific details about the tensions and threats that were clearly present. This selective sharing of information suggests a conscious decision to withhold certain details, possibly to protect himself or others who are still breathing. The weekend of the Soul Train Awards represents a crucial moment in this timeline, and Method Man's account of those events provides a rare insider's perspective on the atmosphere and street tensions of that period. His description of seeing Puffy with heavy security, his own paranoid reactions, and the general sense of danger in the air all paint a picture of a community on edge, aware that violence was about to pop off.
The shrooms. So I'm up in, remember how they had the food booths and, you could sit up in the booth. So I'm sitting up on top of the booth, sitting like this, right? And I'm in my head like crazy. And I was like, did that just happen? Because Puff's never that nice to me.
This moment of realization that Puffy's unusual behavior was a sign of the heightened street tensions shows that Method Man was more aware of the dangerous dynamics than he initially let on. His decision to isolate himself after this interaction suggests he understood the implications of being seen with certain cats at that particular moment when shit was about to get real. Biggie's death, just weeks after a public call for peace by Snoop Dogg and Combs on the Steve Harvey Show, marked a tragic turning point. The irony of this timing, that efforts at peace were being made even as the violence reached its climax, suggests that not everyone was interested in squashing the beef. The loss of both Tupac and Biggie, the two most prominent figures in the feud, within 6 months, shocked the hip-hop community and led to an immediate push to end the rivalry. But for those who were there in the streets, who witnessed the events firsthand, the shock was accompanied by a different kind of knowledge, the understanding of how preventable these tragedies might have been if certain people had spoken up. Method Man's response to these events has been notably restrained compared to other artists of his stature. While figures like Jay-Z, Nas, and even Puffy himself have given extensive interviews about that era, Method Man has largely avoided detailed discussions about the specific events surrounding Biggie's death. This restraint could be interpreted as respect for the dead, but it could also indicate a more complex relationship with the truth than he's willing to publicly acknowledge. On April 3rd, 1997, Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan convened a peace summit in Chicago, attended by artists like Snoop Dogg, Thaw Dogg Pound, Ice Cube, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and Fat Joe. Notably absent from most accounts of this summit is any mention of Wu-Tang Clan or Method Man specifically. Given their connections to both coasts and their ability to maintain relationships across the divide, their absence from this peace process is curious as hell. The conspiracy theories surrounding Biggie's murder have proliferated over the years, with various figures pointing fingers at different suspects. Other theories include financial motives, suggesting record companies benefited more from Biggie and Tupac's deaths, or that Diddy's refusal to cooperate fully with the LAPD hindered the investigation. These theories gain credibility when we consider that the most knowledgeable witnesses have remained largely silent about what they experienced in the streets. Suge Knight himself has consistently denied involvement involvement in Biggie's murder, despite all the allegations against him.
Did you hate Biggie?
Never one bit. See, one thing you gotta realize me, follow my pattern. I'm a businessman. I figure if in a year or two, Biggie would have been a death row artist because that's how talented he was. And I would have pursued him as an artist because I felt I could have gave him a bigger deal. And I wouldn't have been in his videos. So I think he was an incredible, incredible, incredible artist. Just think, Tupac and Biggie, and there was no real feud. They might have had words before, but I know I could have molded them back to being great friends.
Knight's claims about wanting to sign Biggie and his assertion that there was no real beef between Tupac and Biggie contradict much of the accepted narrative about that period. If Knight is speaking truth, then the entire foundation of the East Coast-West Coast feud as a motive for murder becomes questionable. Method Man's career trajectory after these events also raises questions. While many artists from that era saw their careers affected by the violence and paranoia that followed the murders, Method Man continued to thrive, both as a solo artist and with Wu-Tang Clan. His ability to maintain his career without being touched by the investigations or retaliations that affected others suggests he either had powerful protection or valuable information that made him untouchable in the streets. The street code of silence that has surrounded these events for decades isn't just about protecting criminals, it's about protecting an entire community from the consequences of speaking truth to power. In a world where music industry executives, gang members, and law enforcement officials all had conflicting interests in how these cases were resolved, witnesses like Method Man faced impossible choices about what to reveal and what to keep locked away. The hip-hop community's relationship with law enforcement has always been complicated, built on mutual distrust and conflicting interests. In the context of these murder investigations, this distrust created an environment where potential witnesses had every incentive to remain silent rather than risk becoming targets themselves. The enduring mystery of Biggie's murder centers on gang-related theories, label disputes, or LAPD corruption, with no substantiated link to Method Man. But the absence of his name from official theories doesn't mean he lacks relevant knowledge. It could simply mean that investigators never properly explored his potential as a witness, or that he successfully avoided being drawn into the official narrative. Whether Method Man's silence is motivated by self-preservation, loyalty to the streets, fear of retaliation, or simple respect for the dead, it represents one of the last untapped sources of information about one of music history's greatest mysteries. The truth about what happened to Biggie Smalls may still be out there, locked away in the memories of those who were closest to the events. And Method Man, the Wu-Tang Clan member who walked the tightrope between two warring coasts and emerged unscathed, may hold the key to finally understanding what really happened during those fateful months that changed hip-hop forever. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to watch another fascinating video like this, click on one of the boxes on your screen right now.